say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border.
Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
For 4 long years, they lied to us about everything, especially the border. Nothing but lies. And the mainstream media was their talking point heroes. MSNBC, CNN, giving them the kudos, the slaps on the back to continue to spread fake information. Everything Biden and Harris touched in America, they broke. They own it. And boy, are they going to be paying in the near future for what they broke. But when it comes to the border, in less than 6 months, for the first time in United States of America history, we have the most secure border ever. To put that in perspective, no one alive on planet Earth has ever seen a more secure border than Donald J. Trump accomplished in the first 6 months of being in office. For 249 years, we now have the most secure border in our history. And that, my friends, is a good thing. Yet another place you can be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. Whether you're watching me tonight live on YouTube or Rumble or X, formerly Twitter, or the Facebook page for the Douglas Ducote Show or LinkedIn, please subscribe, share it for your family and friends, and join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Before we kick off into tonight's show, we have a lot of things to discuss, a lot of breaking news, a lot of things that are just going to, well, look, my job is to piss off the far left liberals and the staunch Democrats, especially those up in Washington, D.C. And I mean, that's my job. And job security is great. We're doing one hell of a job. Which brings me to something that is going to change at the Douglas Ducote Show. I can't go into great detail about it right now, but let's just say that I've managed to make an acquaintance that works for Google YouTube, and they actually reached out to me and suggested I do a few things to get around some of the censorship that has been happening on the YouTube channel of the show. So regardless of where you're watching me tonight, if you go to the YouTube channel in the post section, or what used to be called the community section, you will see a direct link to a brand new YouTube channel, which is going to be the future of the live show for YouTube viewers. It's titled Restore America 1776, The Douglas Ducote Show. There's a direct link there. There's also a direct link on my Facebook page where you can go to and I suggest that you all go there and subscribe to that new channel. There's nothing up there yet. There's no videos. And all that's going to be in the future is the live show for YouTube viewership will be on that new channel. And there are many, many new things that are going to be coming out in the very near future with this podcast. And again, I can't really go into much detail about it right now. A lot of it is all in the works at the moment, but it's going to be things that I've been hoping for, been praying for would happen one day with this podcast. And it's going to be great, my friends. So go there and check out, subscribe to the new channel for YouTube viewership, Restore America 1776, The Douglas Ducote Show. And again, a direct link is in the community section of the YouTube channel, as well as my personal Facebook page, also the Facebook page for the Douglas Ducote Show. And I'll be putting out a special video on all my social media platforms to include our website, douglasducote.com, that will also have more information as we move forward with going live there for YouTube viewership only. We will continue to go out on Rumble and LinkedIn and Facebook and X, formerly Twitter, and also our website, douglasducote.com. Check it out, where you can see lots of other videos that you can't see on any of the other social media platforms that we're on. And also you can buy cool merchandise there if you're interested in that. And you can also support what we do at the Douglas Ducote Show through your generous donations, which we greatly appreciate. Okay, so let's talk about Donald J. Trump. David defeated Goliath, but it took President Donald Trump to crush the Goliath of liberal media. In recent weeks, Trump has defunded the leftist public media at NPR, at PBS, and even NPR's top editor quit right afterwards. CBS announced that late-night host Stephen Colbert is being let go, sending the left into F-bomb-laced meltdowns. Longtime Washington Post staffers are fleeing the outlet because it promises to use its opinion page to support the scary combo of free markets and personal liberties. Major news outlets are settling Trump lawsuits and paying up millions of dollars as we speak. And the New York Times just reported that the progressives at Media Matters are considering shutting down altogether. And those are only the highlights. Sure, Trump is not alone. He has had lots of allies helping him. Elon Musk, in particular, has gone to war with Media Matters on a global level, causing the group to rack up about $15 million in legal fees, and that's according to the Times. But none of this would have happened with another Republican in the White House. No president since Ronald Reagan has been willing to tangle with the press like Trump. President George H.W. Bush pushed being kinder and gentler and watched the media spin the economy recovery away enough that he lost re-election after he had 90% popularity. President George W. Bush suffered similar media mistreatment and mockery, but he pushed compassionate conservatism and tried to be friendly to journalists covering him, even nicknaming them on a positive side. Only Trump has been willing to fight back. Then again, he also had the best reasons to do it. The American media joined their fellow travelers and hounded Trump out of the White House in 2020. They thought they had won. They used the phony Russia collusion claims throughout his entire presidency for 4 years, targeted every member of his administration they could, and ripped into his agenda and legacy. In the 4 years that followed, journalists hyped every bit of lawfare, every legal charge, and every claim. But to paraphrase a liberal line, he persisted. Trump devastated President Joe Biden in a debate that pushed the often incoherent leader out of the race entirely. Most in the press finally are now admitting it, that Joe Biden wasn't capable of being president of the United States for the 4 years he was there, much less being reelected. Then came Vice President Kamala Harris, and Trump beat her too. More than that, he defeated their press supporters by relying on alternative media like podcasts and influencers. Here we are, barely 6 months into Trump's second term, and he's having undeniable success. The border is effectively closed to illegal immigration. He stood by our ally Israel as it has devastated Iran and Iran's terrorist supporters, Hezbollah and Hamas, just to name two. For good measure, he had the U.S. military bomb Iran's nuclear facilities. No boots on the ground. And then he moved on like a boss. The fears of tariffs crush the economy have been proven wrong. Instead, Trump is gradually cutting deals that show his strategy was always about forcing other nations to the table to treat America fairly. The economy isn't just functional, it's strong. The stock market recovered, and the EU just caved on trade that the media are widely reporting as a lopsided deal benefiting the U.S. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried, what the liberal media is trying to do. Meanwhile, leftist areas devastated by massive disasters like Hawaii and Beverly Hills aren't even being allowed to rebuild. The comparison is so stark that if this were the second Obama term, the press would already be urging politicians to let him run for a third. But none of those incredible accomplishments stand out as much as Trump beating the press at their own damn game. Defunding NPR and PBS has been a decades-long dream of the right. Trump didn't just talk about it, he did it. The Post, one of the right's prenatal enemies, is one of the hardest hit. The paper that once proclaimed democracy dies in darkness is now paying ageist liberals to leave. The list of columnists running away from the Post reads like a who's who's list of liberal media types. Jonathan Capehart, Jen Rubin, Ann Telenis, Dave Shipley, Ruth Marcus, Eugene Robertson. None of them were willing to work for the section that now supports free markets and personal liberties. Basically, just stop lying and cover the damn news. The paper's mock fact spinner, fact checker, Glenn Kiesler, is also taking the buyout. Facts of the world rejoice. They haven't found a replacement, probably because Baghdad Bob is retired. Things are so bad, the Post Orbit section is on life support and the only one staffer who hasn't taken a buyout. Then there are the lawsuits that just keep piling up. Trump forced CBS to settle and gave his foundation $16 million over election interference claims. He also squeezed ABC News for falsely claiming he was labeled for rape or liable for rape. That cost them $15 million to his presidential museum and millions to his lawyers. Journalism has been in decline for decades in a long downward spiral, which is why you tune in to places like me to get your real news, where political correctness is gone. I don't do it. I vet the shit out of everything I talk about before I talk about it. And you can bet when it's coming out of my mouth, you can take it to the bank that it's correct, even though the liberals and the liberal Democrats can't stand people like me. And that's only because they can't handle the truth. But nothing like this. Readers have turned out media attacks on the president, and there have been repeated layoffs at outlets that once made bank off of it. Huffington Post, Bloomberg, LA Times, The Vox have all cut staff. It's a beautiful thing, my friends. Trump's FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, even called for news organizations to get back to unbiased, trustworthy journalism. And if the media don't do that, all Trump has to do is go looking for a few more stones for his slingshot. That, my friends, was a piece by Dan Gandler, who's a freelance opinion editor. And he was spot on correct. Those of you that watched the border documentaries that I did, and if you haven't seen them, you can go to douglasducote.com and watch them. You know that when we did those border documentaries, we had to bring security with us. And when I go out and do media appearances or public appearances, I also have security with me. And you've all met Mike in the videos, who is my head of security when we do things, especially when we're down on the border. Mike is a former U.S. Army Ranger and former law enforcement officer. Well, me and him have had many, many discussions going back. I mean, we've known each other for well over 20 years. And over the past, I would say, 10 years, we've had numerous discussions about who is the head of the snake that's causing all the problems for America. Is it Nancy Pelosi? Is it the gods at CNN or MSNBC? Who is the head? If you had to just chop off the head of the snake, who would you go after that stirs up all this make-believe bullshit against the right and against conservatives and against Donald Trump? And we put our heads together trying to just narrow down who that person is that calls all the shots. And Mike came up with this guy, George Soros. I'm sure you've all heard of him, right? He's the biggest Democrat donor on planet Earth. And Mike said many times to me in these discussions, that is the head of the snake. That is the person that is behind all the lies, all the deception, all the smoke and mirrors. Many, many times. Well, my friends, billionaire Democrat mega donor George Soros alleged ties to Russiagate have now been exposed and declassified annex of the Durham report. CIA Director John Ratcliffe, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Attorney General Pam Bondi coordinated in the declassification of the annex that Senator Grassley made public today. The credible foreign sources indicated the FBI and the Obama administration would play a role in spreading the fake, slanderous Trump-Russia narrative before the Bureau ever launched its probe. And the ties go back to George Soros' Open Society Foundation, according to the explosive document declassification that took place this morning. The Apex to former Special Counsel John Durham's report released by the Senate Judiciary Committee sheds stunning light on what Chairman Chuck Grassley describes as one of the biggest political scandals and cover-ups in American history. CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Attorney General Pam Bondi worked in coordination to declassify all this information. And more is coming out tomorrow, and many more coming out next week. And the more we hear about, the more they declassify, the deeper the hole gets, going back to the Obama administration. Before its official release, sources exclusively briefed some of the context on the Apex to any news media outlet that would show up for the briefing. CNN didn't show up. MSNBC didn't show up. ABC, CBS, NBC didn't show up. Fox News did. The rest of them aren't covering it. Why? Because they spent all these years spreading the false lies about Russia collusion that they can't now admit that they were lied to and they were wrong. Well, when people start getting put in handcuffs and in prison, they don't have a choice. They're going to have to cover it. In that release today, U.S. intelligence communities had credible foreign sources indicating that the FBI would play a role in spreading these lies, the Trump-Russia collusion narrative, before the Bureau ever launched its controversial Crossfire Hurricane probe. The contents of the classified appendix may not have been exactly clear at the moment what the intelligence collection meant with the benefit of hindsight, but it predicts the FBI's next move with alarming specificity. It reveals that the foreign sources were tied to George Soros' Open Society Foundations. Says that the Russian government actors in 2016 reportedly hacked emails from the Open Society Foundation, formerly known as the Soros Foundation. Two of the apparent hackers' emails appear to have originated from the Open Society Foundations. Noting that the purported author of these emails was Leonard Bernardo, who was a regional director at the Open Society Foundation. During the first stage of the campaign, due to the lack of direct evidence, it was decided to disseminate the necessary information, through the FBI, affiliated technical structures in particular. The crowdsourced strike and threat connect companies from where the information would then be sent out through leading U.S. publications. Bernardo reportedly wrote in an email that's been released, declassified. The media analyst on the DNC hack appears solid. Julian, Clinton campaign advisor, said it will be a long-term affair to demise Putin and Trump. Now it's good for a post-convention bounce, Bernardo wrote. Later in the FBI will put more oil into the fire, they said. Another email stated HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton, approved Julian's idea about Trump and Russia hackers hampering the U.S. election. This should distract people from her own misleading emails, especially if the affair goes to the Olympic level. Bernardo continued in the emails. The point is making the Russia play a U.S. domestic issue. Say something like a critical infrastructure threat for the election to feel maniac, since both POTUS and the vice president have acknowledged the fact IC would spread up searching for evidence that is regrettably still unavailable. Crossfire Hurricane, the FBI's Trump-Russia investigation, was opened just several days later on July 31st, 2016. The emails reveal that Durham's team interviewed numerous FBI personnel involved in the Crossfire Hurricane probe. Durham said those he interviewed believed that Durham's emails to be likely authentic. Durham's email states that the Clinton campaign might have wanted or expected the FBI or other agencies to aid that effort, put more oil on the fire by commencing a formal investigation of the DNC hack. Communications, the Durham team reviewed additional supported that the Clinton campaign had been engaged in a plan to tie Trump to Russia, and that the campaign wanted or expected the office of the Vice President of the United States at that time was who? Joe Biden, the FBI or other parts of the intelligence community, such as the State Department Bureau of Research and Intelligence, to aid in the effort. It was all a planned, made up story. The office's best assessment is that the emails that purport to be from Bernardo were ultimately comprised of several emails that were obtained through Russian intelligence hacking of US-based think tanks, including the Open Source Foundation, the Carriage Endowment, and others, Durham annexed states. It is a logistical deduction. Redacted Julian Smith was a minimum, playing a role in the Clinton's campaign's efforts to tie Trump to Russia, Durham writes, also noting that the communication reviewed certainly leads at least some credence that such a plan existed. But even at the time, he didn't have the emails that have now been released. Based on the Durham report, the Obama FBI failed to adequately review and investigate intelligence reports showing the Clinton campaign had been ginning up the fake Trump-Russia narrative for Clinton's political gain, which was ultimately done through the Steele dossier and other means, Grassley said in a statement today. These intelligence reports and related records were buried for years, and they never thought that the next administration one day would find them. Grassley said that history will show that the Obama and Biden administration's law enforcement and intelligence agencies were definitely 100% weaponized against President Trump, something that I've been saying for years. This political weaponization has caused critical damage to our institutions and is one of the biggest political scandals and cover-ups in American history. The new Trump administration has a tremendous responsibility to the American people to fix the damage done and do so with maximum speed and transparency. In 2020, you may recall, Fox News Digital exclusively reported that former CIA Director John Brennan in the summer of 2016 briefed former President Barack Obama and administration officials on intelligence that then Democrat nominee Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton reportedly was stirring up a plan to tie Trump to Russia. Ratcliffe, as Director of National Intelligence, declassified Durham's handwritten notes about that meeting, which were exclusively obtained by Fox News Digital in October 2020. On July 28, 2016, Durham briefed Obama on a plan by one of Clinton's campaign foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stringing up a scandal claiming interference by the Russia security services. And then the FBI on July 31st, 2016, opened a counterintelligence investigation into whether or not candidate Trump and members of his campaign were colluding or coordinating with Russia to influence the 2016 campaign. That investigation was referred to inside the Bureau as Crossfire Hurricane. Comey, then Vice President Joe Biden, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper were at the Durham Obama briefing. After that briefing, and one in the White House on August 3rd, 2016, with Clapper, Brenham, Obama, Biden, Comey, and others, the CIA forwarded that information through a counterintelligence operation led to Comey and then Director Assistant of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok with the subject line, Crossfire Hurricane. Fox News Digital exclusively obtained and reported on this in October of 2020, which stated, the following information is provided for the exclusive use of the Bureau for background investigation action or lead purposes as appropriate. Per FBI verbal request, CIA provides the below examples of information Crossfire Hurricane Fusion Cell has gleaned to date, the memo continued. An exchange discussed U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russia hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private email server. The declassification and release of the classified documents was done with close coordination between Ratcliffe, Patel, Galbert, Bondi, and Acting National Security Director William Hartman, along with Senator Grassley, who ultimately released the documents to the public today. Meanwhile, while Ratcliffe was Director of National Intelligence in 2020, he provided intelligence to Durham as part of a larger trove of more than 1,000 documents. A senior former Trump official said to Fox News Digital that Ratcliffe had advocated for releasing the intelligence publicly then, but that Durham, who at the time was expected to release an interim report prior to the 2020 election, declined on the basis that it could negatively impact its investigation, which had not yet reached a determination on potential prosecutions. Durham said he wanted to preserve his investigation, but was going to release an interim report. The former official told Fox News Digital. Then he said he was afraid he'd get accused of publicizing and would disappear. The source added, thankfully, the real publicization is all coming to light now. Former Special Counsel Robert Mueller was appointed to take over the FBI's original Crossfire Hurricane investigation. After nearly 2 years, Mueller's investigation, which concluded in March of 2019, yielded no evidence of criminal conspiracy or coordination between Trump campaign and Russia officials during the 2016 presidential election. Although the Democrats in Washington, D.C. and the liberal media continue to push the fake, false narrative to this day. Shortly after, Durham was appointed as special counsel to investigate the origins of the Crossfire Hurricane probe. Durham found that the FBI had failed to act on a clear warning sign the Bureau had been targeted for an alleged Clinton-led effort to manipulate or influence the law enforcement process for political purposes ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Facts reflect a rather startling and unacceptable failure to adequately consider and incorporate the Clinton plan intelligence into the FBI's investigation decision, making the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, Durham's report states. Indeed, had the FBI opened the Crossfire investigation as an assessment and in turn gathered and analyzed data in concert with the information from the Clinton plan intelligence, it is likely that the information received would have been examined at a minimum with a more critical eye, the report continued. Durham in his report said the FBI had failed to act on what should have been, when combined with other facts, a clear warning sign that the FBI might then be the target of an information effort to manipulate or influence the law enforcement process for political purposes during the 2016 presidential election. Grassley said he has been fighting for years to assemble and publicize all the facts surrounding Durham's investigation, Crossfire Hurricane, and related matters. The American people shouldn't be shortchanged or strung out on matters of significant public interest. And that firm belief fuels my tireless oversight, Senator Grassley said. It has been a refreshing change to see Attorney General Bondi and Director Patel increased efforts to bring transparency to a very dark corner of the people's government. I hope that attitude continues, and you can be sure my oversight work will continue as well, because there's much more work to be done here, Grassley said. And then today, Bondi said that the Department of Justice and CIA are committed to truth and transparency and will continue to support in good faith efforts by Congress to hold those responsible. Ratcliffe said the declassification was a bold step forward towards showing the false Trump-Russia collusion narrative for what it was, a coordinated plan to prevent and destroy Donald Trump's presidency, bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton, supported and funded by George Soros. CIA stands with the department and is committed to transparency and rebuilding trust in the IC, Ratcliffe said. The American people deserve the opportunity to see this evidence for themselves. FBI Director Patel, who has been investigating the origins of the Trump-Russia probe since his days as chief investigator of the House Intelligence Committee, going back to 2018, said the American people deserve full, unfiltered truth about the Russia collusion hoax and the political abuse of our justice system, and that it must be exposed, and it will be. Today's declassification and release of documents tied to the Durham report is another step towards that accountability, the director of the FBI said. The FBI will continue working tirelessly with our federal partners at DOJ, CIA, and more to uncover the facts that should have been brought to light years ago. I'm grateful to Chairman Grassley for his steadfast leadership on this issue, and I look forward to our continued partnership in exposing one of the most shameful frauds ever perpetrated on the American public, Director of the FBI Kash Patel said. There will be Democrats held accountable in the coming future for what they did. It is not okay. And the simple fact that they were arrogant enough, much less to do it, but to think that one day Republicans wouldn't take back over and be able to find all this shit is stunning. President Donald Trump on Thursday sent letters to 17 pharmaceutical companies regarding reduced drug prices. Want to hear about that in the liberal media, will you? White House press secretary said that in a press briefing that Trump sent out the letters following an executive order that he put out earlier this year. The president signed an executive order earlier this year to solve the problem of the pharmaceutical pricing. According to recent data, the prices that Americans are paying for brand name drugs are more than 3 times the price of other similar developed nations pay. The president is determined to solve this problem and took further action today, meaning that these same drugs, other countries don't pay these outrageous fees. But we do, because the pharmaceutical companies in America jack up the price. He has signed 17 letters to pharmaceutical companies, CEOs. And then she read out aloud a letter sent to the CEO of Eli Lilly. Then said all of the letters would be made available to the press following the briefing today. And they were. Trump also began posting copies of each letter to his social media platform, Truth Social. In his letter to Eli Lilly CEO David Ricks, Trump noted that he signed an executive order on May 12 titled Delivering Most Favorable Nation Prescription Drug Pricing to American Patients. The order is intended to stop global freeloading and guarantee that Americans pay the same prices enjoyed by other developed nations. Right now, brand name drugs in the United States are up 3 times higher on average than anywhere else in identical machines, Trump wrote. Was unacceptable burden on hardworking American families ends with my administration. Most proposals the Trump administration has received to resolve this critical issue promise more of the same, shifting blame and requesting policy changes that result in billions of dollars in handouts to that industry. Moving forward, Trump warned the only thing he will accept from drug manufacturers is a commitment that provides American families immediate relief from the vastly inflated drug prices and an end to the free ride of American innovation by European and developed nations. He called on Eli Lilly and other companies at Very Manufacturing doing business in our great country to take action within 60 days. Trump said they must extend the most favorable nation pricing to Medicaid, guaranteed most favorable nation pricing for newly launched drugs, return increased revenues abroad to American patients and taxpayers, and provide a direct purchasing at most favorable nation pricing. Trump said his team, including Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Administrator for the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, Dr. Mohammed Oz, stand ready to implement the terms. The president said he expects Ricks to further engage with Kennedy and Oz immediately in good faith to deliver relief to American families on these drug prices. Make no mistake, a collaborating effort towards achieving global pricing parity would be the most effective plan for companies, the government, and American patients, Trump wrote. But if you refuse to step up, we will deploy every tool in our arsenal to protect American families from continued abuse of drug pricing practices. Americans are demanding lower drug prices, and they need them now. Other nations have been freeloading on U.S. innovation for way too long. It's time they pay their fair share. Trump said he expects binding commitments to each of his listed goals by September 29th, deeming the calls to action a vital national priority. 16 other companies received similar letters from Trump. They were Advive, Boehringer Ingram, Bristol Myers Squibb, Novartis, Glendale Sciences Incorporated, EMD Serotos, Pfizer, Novo, AstraZeneca, Amenga, Grentech, Johnson & Johnson, GSK, Merck, Regeneration Pharmacies, and Sandoff. Several of the letters showed the CEO's last names crossed out and written in their place their first names, suggesting a personal touch to the president's demand to big pharma head CEOs. Take that. The wins just keep coming from this administration. In fact, they're becoming so big that those of us that are real American patriots and conservatives and Republicans are going to have to invest in a dermatologist and a plastic surgeon to wipe the grins off our faces for the wins that are happening under this administration. The biggest positive trade deals in American history are taking place right now. And the liberal Democrats in Washington and the liberal media bitches like MSNBC and CNN are in full-blown denial, to say the least. President Trump announced yesterday that the U.S. and South Korea have reached a comprehensive trade agreement in which the East Asian country will invest, are you ready for this? $350 billion in American projects selected by Trump. South Korea, which has agreed to be completely open to trade with the U.S., will now face a reduced tariff of 15% on imported goods, down from the planned 25%, which would have gone into effect on August 1st. I am pleased to announce that the United States of America has agreed to a full and complete trade deal with the Republic of Korea, Trump said in the Truth Social post yesterday. The deal is that South Korea will give the United States $350 billion for investments owned and controlled by the United States and selected by myself as president. As part of the deal, the U.S. president said South Korea will also purchase $100 billion worth of liquefied natural gas or other energy products. Additionally, South Korea will purchase $100 billion of other energy products. And further, South Korea has agreed to invest a large sum of money for their investment purposes. The sum will be announced within the next 2 weeks when the president of South Korea comes to the White House for bilateral meeting. The wins just keep on coming. And the liberal media and the Democrats up in Washington, D.C. continue to spin it in the lies and made up crap that doesn't exist. The economy is doing wonderful things right now. Everything is working out exactly the way Donald Trump said it would if we elected him, even though the left still refuses to admit it. They look for every little negative thing they can find, and they try and blow it up into something that just has absolutely zero merit in the bigger picture. Anti-Trump New York Times columnist and longtime critic Bret Stephens admits Trump is much more successful than expected. This is not what we his foam-at-the-mouth critics had planned, he said in his column published on Tuesday. Stevens marveled at Trump's recent slew of successes, saying that the president's term has had a better turn in the first 100 days in office. Congratulations. Donald Trump is starting to have a more successful presidency each and every day. This is not what we, his foam-at-the-mouth critics, had planned or perhaps secretly hoped for, Stevens wrote. Stevens, who describes himself as a never-Trumper, listed Trump's accomplishments and pointed out whether he's achieved them through good policy or sheer luck. Among Trump's positive policies, the columnist pointed to Trump getting NATO countries on board with increased defense spending, far more from destroying the Atlantic Alliance, as his critics said would happen. Trump may wind up being remembered for reviving and rebalancing it to achieve the goals for both sides, he added. He even praised Trump for courageous policy, naming the bombing Iran's nuclear facility as being one of them. Columnist went on to encourage Trump's adapted policy on the Russia-Ukraine war, stating, speeding the delivery of arms to Ukraine after Trump's disastrous initial pressure campaign on Ukraine backfired by emboldening Vladimir Putin, is the only way to end the war. He also praised Trump's immigration policy, though he noted it's a good policy that's gone too far in his terms or his thought when it comes to law enforcement. Additionally, Stevens expressed some relief that trade deals Trump recently secured with the European Union and Japan did not lead to worse outcomes and crashing the economy as the liberals media said would. Despite noting that there are many unbeautiful parts of Trump's $3.3 trillion spending package that was passed in early July, the columnist admitted it was indeed political victory for President Trump. Joining Israel in its strike on Iran, which Trump carried out in the teeth of political resistance from parts of his own base, did not lead to Middle East war, through Tehran may yet seek retaliation. Instead, it helped bring the war between Israel and Iran to a swift end and stop Iran from their nuclear saber rattling. He also noted that Trump's legal shakedown at Columbia University for anti-Semitism on its campuses, while not a way to go, in his own opinion, did yield results. Stevens, who wrote last year he no longer considers himself never Trump because the movement was too dogmatic, said Trump's recent success were a valuable lesson to his critics, and the liberal media should start paying attention. If Trump's opponents want to someday be effective, and let's face it, they haven't been, then we have to come to grips with reality that have so far eluded us, such as not everything Trump does is bad, he wrote in that column. We're winning, and we will continue to win. And when the liberals read that kind of shit from people that they put up on a pedestal with Trump derangement syndrome, their minds are going to freaking explode. And that's a good thing. The Democrats in D.C. and the liberals have been lying their ass off about what the Trump administration is doing to government programs such as Medicare, Social Security, welfare, food stamp programs like SNAP, and VA benefits. Claiming good, decent American citizens, the disabled and the elderly are getting kicked off of programs and their checks and benefits are about to be stopped. All total anti-Trump scare tactics. When the good facts are this administration is not kicking good, decent American citizens, the disabled and the elderly, or VA personnel, veterans. They are only revamping the very broken system that has been allowing the dishonest and illegal aliens on the system in the tune of millions of out-of-pocket taxpayer dollars. Here is just one of literally thousands of problems the system is addressing. A woman has recently been arrested after buying a Lamborghini and plastic surgery while receiving Medicaid benefits, according to Louisiana Attorney General Liz Morrell. Her name is Candace Taylor. She's 35 years old. She has been booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison for Medicaid fraud. Taylor is accused of using misrepresentation, concealment, and the non-disclosure of required information to apply for and receive Medicaid benefits. Investigators said Taylor applied for Medicaid benefits in May of 2019 under the alias Candace Saylor, reporting her income as $1,900 biweekly and claiming no dependents. The application was denied, but Taylor applied again in 2020 using the same alias. According to Mueller's office, Taylor, in fact, had multiple businesses that she owned between January 2020 and December 2024 that brought in more than $9.5 million across many accounts controlled by her. After being approved for Medicaid, records show that a bank account for Taylor Records deposited more than $480,000 and more than $45,000 in payments to Audi Finance. Taylor also made many six-figure withdrawals via cashier checks to pay for cosmetic jewelry, surgery, property purchases, luxury services. In addition, Taylor made a $100,000 wire transfer to an exotic car dealership and the $13,000 debit card transaction to buy a 2022 Lamborghini. Arrest warrant was secured for Taylor following a criminal investigation. She was taken into custody on Monday, July 28th. This, my friends, that lady right there is the type of people that are going to get kicked off of government programs that you and I pay for. These criminals, dishonest people, liars, cheaters, fraudsters, and illegal aliens. Not good, decent American citizens, the disabled, veterans, and the elderly that the fucking Democrats up in Washington, D.C. keep spewing every single day. Trump is kicking them off, and they don't know if they're going to get their next check. It's all lies. Brought to you by the DNC. Wake up, America, and stop listening to those whiny little bitches like Cory Booker and AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Jasmine Crockett, even Nancy Pelosi. They're all a bunch of liars. And sadly, too many liberal Democrats in this country are too dumb, too stupid, too ignorant, whatever you'd like to call them, to see the color instead of the black and white. And the color reveals the truth that they're a bunch of liars and you're falling for what they're saying, and it's not true. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Whatever you're doing this weekend, please have fun. Please be safe. Please make sure those that you care about know that you care about them, because we're only here for a very short period of time in life. We all must die one day in order to go on to whatever's next, whatever you believe in. We can't stay here. And the worst feeling in the world, trust me, is to lose somebody that you really care for, that you love, without them knowing how you truly felt, and vice versa. So make sure your loved ones know. If anything breaks of major importance between now and next Tuesday, I'll be sure to do a live program about it or a video about it. Other than that, please be safe out there, my friends. Remember that the Biden-Harris administration for 4 years had an open border policy and allowed hundreds of thousands, millions, actually over 2 million people to illegally come into our country. And many of those, we don't know where they're at. And many of those we know, according to our FBI and our CIA, are terrorists that are here waiting to kill us. It is time that we look out for one another. It is time that we start paying attention to our surroundings. And if you're not doing it, you better wake up and start doing it. It's not if they strike us again like they did on 9/11. It's when. And it's going to happen, sadly. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, our families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. And once again, please go to the new YouTube channel, Restore America 1776, the Douglas Ducote Show, because in the very near future, that's where the show will air for YouTube viewership. We will still continue to go out live on our other social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, Rumble, the Facebook page, LinkedIn. But for those of you that follow us on YouTube, you need to go there and subscribe, because in the very near future, you will only see the live broadcast when it comes to the YouTube viewership on that new channel. Good night, my friends. Be safe. And I'll see you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time.